So where I'm standing right now is literally the north and southern hemisphere. As you can see right below me, this is where the actual equator is supposed to be. Good morning, guys, here from the crater of Pululahua. You can see it's like 7 in the morning and we're actually about to head out, but this place has been incredible to me. We had some amazing night. That was our cabin last night. It was so nice. They actually helped me set up a fireplace, so I was pretty warm all night. They don't have heaters, you know, they don't have AC, they don't have heaters in here. It's just a normal cabin, so they heated it up, and it was incredible that they did that for me. But this morning you can literally see the entire crater behind me. These are not mountains, you know, these are not the mountains of a certain mountain range. These are just volcanoes. The ancient crater of a volcano. And last night you could probably see that the clouds were all stuck inside the valley. This morning they've all cleared out. You can see still some like last remnants right there near the edge of the mountain, and actually right over there you can see there's some clouds rolling over into the actual crater, but aside from that the clouds have mostly cleared out. We're gonna go back and hike up all the way to the top of the Mirador, the viewpoint, because we are leaving the crater. So let's go ahead, let's get our stuff packed, and let's head out of this beautiful place, because we've got some new things to explore today, and I'm so excited to show you guys more of this part of Ecuador. Let's go. Muchas gracias por todo. Gracias. Muchas gracias. We have officially left our accommodation. This place is amazing. It's called La Pedregosa. And it is an incredible place. They serve food, and they only opened, I think, in 2018, 2019. They also got cabins to rent out, but now the real hike begins. We're going to be zigzagging across the middle of a volcanic crater until we get all the way to the top. So let's go ahead and let's get started. So we finally made it back up to the top of the volcano. We are back at the top of the crater. I have to say, on the way up, actually, because the sun starts shining, it gets really hot, and I honestly considered taking off my hoodie, but then I came here where the mountain is still shading us, and all of a sudden it gets really cold. So without the sun, this place is still a really cold place. So if you're coming to Pululahua, definitely bring a jacket, bring something warm, because when the sun is out you can take it off, which is great, but when the sun is covered, either blocked by the clouds or blocked by a mountain, that's when things get a little bit difficult. And as you can see right now, with the mountain blocking the sun over there, we don't really get warmth. Let's go ahead and let's head down to the highway. I don't know how long of a walk it is, but I do know that on the way up it took about 15-20 minutes. Hopefully on the way down it's a little easier, and we're gonna catch the next bus. Well, we finally got off the bus and we are at our next stop here in the outskirts of Quito, Ecuador. It turns out the bus ride was actually one of the fastest I've ever seen. It literally took 10 minutes, probably less than that, from Pululahua. So you can actually see Pululahua is actually right over there. So we are actually really close to where we were starting this morning. And that's because these two places are really close together. In fact, if you're doing a day trip, you might as well just join them in together because it's more convenient that way. But this is Mitad del Mundo, or the half of the world, because the equator literally runs through here. There's a lot of cool science experiments, there's a lot of museums. So let's go ahead and let's see if we can actually enter the sort of Mitad del Mundo park first, so I can tell you guys a little bit more about why this place is so cool.
Hola.
Buenos días.
Sí, ¿puedo comprar una entrada?
Claro.
Sí.
So your $5 ticket actually gets you access not just to the monument, which is the equator, but it gets you into a lot of things. It gets you to the museum, a planetarium, a train museum, a lot of actually really cool things. A cacao place, I think, a pyramid. There's quite a few attractions to actually visit. You're paying not just for the big monument, but there are a lot of things to see. So let's go ahead. We got our ticket. It is $5, which for Ecuadorian standards is a little bit steep, but it is a big attraction here in Ecuador. So let's go ahead and let's get into the touristic park. Welcome to Mitad del Mundo. We have officially made it inside. You can see it right behind me, Mitad del Mundo. That means halfway or half of the earth. This park is actually really nice. It seems really developed. It seems really clean. And they, like I said, there's so many different attractions. It's not just the big monument that marks the equator line. There's a lot of things here to see as well. A lot of incredible things. To start off, we've got this little sign here that sort of points you to all the major cities in the world. So you can see there's a sign for like Santiago, Cairo, because you know it's that relative to the equator, which I guess is a pretty cool thing to notice. But let's go ahead. There is like a set path, so you can't just go along your own way. He was like, go to the right, only follow the right path. So let's go ahead. We're gonna follow the right path, and I don't know what the first stop is, but let's go ahead and take a look inside the park. First little part of the middle of the world city is what they call this place, is this place called Las Viviendas Ancestrales, which are the ancestral homes. Why is this interesting? Well, they're trying to portray what the traditional houses were here in Ecuador many years ago. And Ecuador is a very big country with many different parts. You've got the coast, you've got the Amazon, you've got the Sierra, which are the mountains, and they've represented each type here. They've had houses from each part of Ecuador to show you. So if we move up here, for example, the first house we'll see here is an Amazonian house. So this is what the houses would be like for the Ecuadorians who lived in the Amazon. And if you actually go inside here, wow, look at this. It's, oh my God. I thought there was an actual person there. It looks like there's an actual person behind me down there, but it's not. She's just a copy. That scared me for a second. But this is the ancestral home of a house in the Amazon. And they do this with each part of Ecuador. They have one for the Sierra, one for the coast, which is really interesting. It's not just making the most of the equator. They're really trying to show and preserve the culture of Ecuador, which I really appreciate, because that is something that a lot of people don't do. A lot of people, you know, just like, oh, here's the equator, here are all the science parts about it, but you forget that, you know, this is a country also full of people and full of culture, and that's exactly what you see here, aside from this scary lady that literally scared me to death just now. What's really cool is that they've also got a little exhibition of the medicinal plants that the Ecuadorians would use in the Sierra. So they've got plants like ayahuasca, floripondio. These are all classic sort of plants that are used to help with the pain and also for their religious ceremonies. No matter where you live in Ecuador, these are sort of classic plants that you would use. This church is a preserved church from before the Second Vatican Council. I don't know exactly what the Second Vatican Council is, but apparently it changed the way churches were run here in Ecuador and the way they look. So this was actually preserved from a much longer time ago. And what's really interesting is that in this church, right here in Mitad del Mundo, they'll actually do like ceremonies and weddings and baptisms and all that. So if you want to get married on the equator, you can book out this church and you can get married at latitude 00, which is pretty cool. Well, the main attraction that people always come to Mitad del Mundo for is the monument, Mitad del Mundo, as you can see behind me. It is massive, and there is a globe on the top. Now, it wasn't easy, actually, for scientists to discover where the equator passed through Ecuador. They knew it passed through Ecuador, but they didn't actually know where. In fact, what's interesting is if you remember when we went to Cuenca, there was one white church that we went to. That actually was once, at one point, a laboratory to try and figure out where the equator was. It took literally decades and centuries for people to eventually figure out where the equator was, and that's why they've marked it here with this big monument. And you can actually see on the monument itself, they've put in an instrument with like the machine that they used to discover where the actual equator was. So it was never an easy task. It was something that was that had puzzled both Latin and European explorers for many years to discover where exactly did the equator lie. Today, well, we have a monument to mark where the equator actually passes through. We've got a line that tells us exactly where it goes. So everything's a little bit clearer today, and of course with modern GPS and technology, we immediately know where it is. But back in the day when this monument was first built, you know, they didn't really know. In the 1700s and the 1800s, they didn't have satellites to help them identify where the equator was. So they had to rely on old like metal instruments to actually determine the location of the equator, which they discovered was this place right behind. Apparently, we're allowed to go into the monument, so let's go see if it's possible for us to go inside this famous monument here in Ecuador. So many floors inside this monument, and each floor is dedicated to a group of people that live in Ecuador. So right now we're on the coastal one, so you can see these are people living on the beach. That is how they would live. The floor below me was the Amazon tribes, how they would live. So each floor is dedicated to a group of people here in Ecuador, which is really nice. You know, like I said, this place really pays homage to the fact that we're in Ecuador, right? The people that live here, the different types of people, the different regions of Ecuador. Ecuador is known as a land of 4 worlds. You've got the Galapagos, you've got the coast, you've got the mountains, and you've got the Amazon. I just didn't know that they would have something like this inside the monument. I thought it was just empty. I thought it was just full of brick, but this is something really cool that they've managed to sustain and build inside the monument. Well, what I didn't know is that actually at the top of Mitad del Mundo, there's actually a mirador, a viewpoint, and it's 360, so you literally have a view of everything around you. You can see all of Ecuador. We're currently facing the northeast direction, which is funnily enough where we came from in the morning, because you can see Pululahua, the clouds over there. That's gonna roll in, and that's exactly where we started earlier in the morning. But if you start looking here, down here, this is the Mitad del Mundo. This is the park. This is the area just south, all the way down there and through that valley is where Quito is. So we are actually having a great view of the entire area of Ecuador. If you see down there, there's a sign that says Pichincha. And the reason it's called that is because that's the name of the province we're in. We're not actually in Quito anymore. So that just tells you how far out we are from the actual capital city. Not even there yet, but I can actually smell the chocolate. We're getting close to the store, and I can already smell that nice chocolatey flavor. Let's go ahead and head in. Eso es la planta de cacao. Sí. Oh wow! This chocolate plant here, it is smaller than normal, is what he's telling me, and that's because it's not in its natural habitat. The natural habitat is along the coast, where it's much warmer. And I do remember the same thing happening in Guatemala, where they were saying the actual cacao plant needs to be near the coast and needs to be warmer. We're currently in like a greenhouse, so it's really hot. That's how this can grow. Otherwise, this would not be growing at all. But they have an actual cacao plant right here to demonstrate where it all starts from.
Pasta de cacao fino aroma.
This is the more expensive type of cacao. This cost right here $37 is what he's telling me. It is the most expensive type. Wow. Gracias. Oh, sí. Wow, that's strong. 5%.
65.
Oh, 65. This is 75% chocolate. This is Amazon chocolate. Let's try it out. It's definitely something you've got to do when you're here in the Mitad del Mundo. They literally walk you through the whole process. And a lot like Guatemala, you've got the fermentation process. They have a big fermentation box. They've got a toaster, they grind it up, they make it a paste and everything. That's really cool. Best part is there's a tasting tour afterwards, and that's when you get to taste all the different chocolates. For me, my favorite one is actually the last one, the 85% with mango. I'm surprised. I thought, you know, the more chocolate it is, the more bitter it is, but it was actually really nice. And the best part is it's sugar-free. You know, chocolate can be really healthy if you eat it correctly. Chocolate originated in Ecuador, right? This is the birthplace of the cacao. So it's definitely something that you've got to try here when you're in Ecuador. It's crazy they actually have an actual cacao plant here, but the entire process they walk you through it. And of course, my favorite part, the tasting part. Don't forget that. Don't miss out on that. It's probably one of the best things you're gonna have. And just like that, we have left the city of the Mitad del Mundo. I have to say, that is easily one of my favorite places in Ecuador. I know, you know, it might seem like touristy and everything, but it's definitely worth it. The way they've sort of shown Ecuador, the way they've shown Ecuadorian culture, the people of Ecuador, it's more than just a monument. I honestly thought I would be here for like half an hour and then I'd go. But I ended up spending 2 hours here, and that's because there's just so much to do, so much to see. From the chocolate factory to climbing up the 9 floors of the viewpoint, to actually getting to the viewpoint, to visiting the ancestral homes. There's so many things to do here, and I would say this is probably like one of the must-dos here in Ecuador. I really, really highly recommend it. It might seem like, you know, they're making it all like Disneyland and like, oh, all like touristy, but it really isn't. They've really done a good job of trying to use it as a way to educate people about Ecuador, and I love that. I really, really love it when attractions don't just become a gimmicky, like, come here, buy this, pay for this, but it is really about knowing the experience. And throughout the whole time I was there, I really didn't feel any pressure to buy anything. I did buy chocolate, I did, because it was honestly some of the best chocolate of my life, but I just didn't feel any pressure. You know, you go to Disneyland, you feel pressured to go buy stuff, but here, it really is incredible. I really, really like this place. Definitely come earlier in the day. That's where you won't have a lot of people around here and you'll have most of the place to yourself, but definitely one of the highlights of Ecuador. All right, there is another museum actually right next to Mitad del Mundo, so let's go ahead. Gotta walk along the highway for a bit, but we'll just get there in a few minutes. Just now we had visited El Mitad del Mundo, which is the middle of the world, and that was Equator, latitude 00. But what if I were to tell you that the ancient Europeans actually got it wrong? What if I were to tell you that that is not actually latitude 00? Well, it turns out that just a few hundred meters north is actually where the equator lies, and to celebrate that, there is a museum here. And there's a different museum called Intiñan, which actually shows you where the equator actually falls. So it looks like the ancient Europeans got it wrong. Those explorers who were looking at all the maps and everything, they didn't get it right. Turns out the equator is actually here now that we have modern technology and satellites and everything to help us. The equator is a few hundred feet north, so let's go ahead, let's go check it out and let's see what actually happens near the equator of the Earth. I think that's a sound from the Amazon instruments. And then you get to the actual equator of 0 latitude. It is pretty cool, and they actually do science experiments to show you that that is the actual equator. What does that mean? That means that big monument, Mitad del Mundo, that's a lie. That is completely a lie. It is a few hundred feet south of where the actual equator lies. And the reason is simple. It's because back then the European scientists who came didn't really have the technology that we have today. Today we realize with GPS, with satellites and everything, the equator actually runs through here. It's a few hundred feet north of the actual monument. So when you're here, if you want to see the actual equator, you're gonna need to come here. But the monument itself is really cool, and like I said, that park, it is really worth a visit as well. So when you're here, might as well visit both since they're right next to each other. But with that, we are here at the equator here in Ecuador. After all, Ecuador means the equator, and it has been an incredible experience visiting both of these sites. I would say you need to visit both. The first one you visit for the Mitad del Mundo, you can see the history of how they explored and everything. And then this site here is the actual equator. So if you want to see the actual equator, this is where you gotta stand. But with that, I'm going to end this video here from the beautiful country of Ecuador. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. If you did, definitely give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more food and travel videos here from Ecuador. We've got more videos coming from this country, so make sure to stay tuned, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye guys.